Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are in the right place. This is the year of the big shift. This is about making a big shift, however long it takes. So, this is a webinar about a big shift. And then during the webinar, at some point, I'm going to talk about the course called Year of a Big Shift. But for now, we're going to concentrate on you and what kind of shift you would like to make this year. I mean, we're coming up to the end of 2024, and maybe we will be asking ourselves, as people often do at the new year, what do I want for myself in this year? And how is your life going? Do you feel satisfied with how your life is going? Do you feel you're on track? Or is there something missing? Something you'd like to do with your precious life now? So let me share a few slides that are about this program today, what we're going to do. Asking you, do you long for a big change, but you don't know where to start? Is there a big dream you've tried to accomplish and yet you've always fallen short? And will 2025 be your year to shift at last? And I noticed someone wrote in the chat, you've already made a big shift. So will this be a year where you integrate the shift you're already making, perhaps through changing your relationship status, perhaps through retirement, perhaps through changing to a new job? Maybe you did it already, but all the implications of that and what you want to make of that. Or maybe you didn't do it yet. Here's our plan. This is what we're going to do today. How to get in touch with what brings you alive and take your first steps to living your dream. You know, I find that the questions I've asked, we don't always have clarity about those, right? Is there a big dream? Well, I'm not sure. Maybe it's not formulated. Maybe you have a longing for something to be really different in your life, but you're not quite sure yet how to formulate that. So clarity is often our important step. We'll find out later it's possible to move forward even without clarity, but we're going to get in touch first with what brings us alive and take the first steps toward living the dream. Then, along with that, really, we're going to talk about how to make friends with the parts of you that are in the way of making a big life change. And some people who are here today have wanted to make a big life change for a long time. I know what that's like. I remember a time when I wanted to write a book. And it was my dream that I would write a book that would help people. And I had that dream, frustrated in that dream for about 10 years until it finally turned around for me. I wrote one book. I've now got 6 books. Evidently, they have helped people's lives. It's so exciting to be able to do what you've always wanted to do. And there are things that get in the way, and that can change. So we'll get in touch with what's in the way. And finally, today, we're going to talk about how it's possible to not know everything about where you're going and move forward anyway. Right? So nice. So let's begin with some gentle inner questions, all right? You may want to settle in to where you're sitting. Feel how your body is supported. Be aware of your breathing. Let yourself be supported by what you're sitting on. And let your awareness be inward in yourself, in that inner area of your body where we often feel things: throat, chest, stomach, abdomen area. If it's not easy for you to feel in your body, just ask the questions inwardly. inwardly. So here's the first one. And take a moment with this, right? These are questions, but they're meant to have you sense further rather than to actually try to answer the question. So the first one you might bring inside yourself is, what is my big dream? What is my big dream? Mine was to write a book that would change people's lives. What is your big dream? Have you got one? If you do, pause now and sense how you would formulate it, how you would say it. Now, you could also ask yourself, when I was a child, what did I want to do someday? Sometimes it's really powerful to get in touch with something we've always known we wanted to do, even back when we were kids. That might or might not be true of you, but let's take a moment for you to sense, what was it that you wanted to do someday when you were a child? Guess what? I wanted to be a writer. That was consistent for me. Okay, and make note of what comes, or make note of wanting to spend more time with that later. Here's the third one. What am I called to do? Now, the feeling of being called to do something. For some of you, that might be an odd question. But bring it inside anyway, right? Somehow I'm called to do something. What might that be? What am I called to do? You might or might not have a spiritual sense about this, but I do feel we are all part of a larger picture, and that we have a human need to contribute to the bigger world. And it's from that human need to contribute to the bigger world, we might feel we're called to do something. Just whatever comes is fine. The fourth question is, what do I love that brings me alive? What do I love that brings me alive? I feel like for me, my answer is webinars like this one, being able to talk and present about things that I love. The beauty of connecting with ourselves. That would be my answer. See if you can feel what yours is. What do I love that brings me alive? You can love a lot of things, including potato chips and dessert. But what is it that you love that brings you alive? Yeah, that's it. Well, the fifth question is, what feels right? So we have an inner sense of rightness. What feels right for me to do next, to do with the next stage of my beautiful life? What feels right? And so these 5 inner invitations, let's say them again. What is my big dream, if I have one? When I was a child, what did I want to do someday, if there was something? What am I called to do? What do I feel is my place, where I fit? Those are other ways to say that same thing. What do I love that brings me alive? And what feels right for me to do? Now, any of these might need more time, of course. Let's pause a moment and sense if you're living a life in which you get to do what you're called to do, what brings you alive, and what feels right. How does that feel in your body? Take some time to sense how that feels in your body. And let's check in. Who'd like to talk about or write in the chat about what you noticed, what you're aware of? Some people wrote, "What do I not love?" Managing all the emails in my inbox all day, every day, and seriously, I love my grandchildren. So this is an answer to the question, how does it feel in your body to imagine living that life? Sandra writes, it feels expansive in my heart area and joyful. And Constance writes, I found new energy to clear away those things which keep me from focusing on my dream. Dina writes, I felt light and sunny inside. Anne wrote, I noticed a calm sense in my body. Dieter wrote, I noticed a buzzing vibration within a bowl of light. Wonderful. So nice. All right. And some people are starting to be aware of what gets in the way. Like Anne wrote, I want to get back in the public eye, but something in me is worried about safety. All right. Well, let's move on. I want to talk about and help you get in touch with what might be in the way. What would stop you? And I feel like the very act of getting in touch with what you do want, what the bigger dream is, probably has already brought up some of the counterparts, the parts that are counter to that. Yes, the stuck parts, that in you that gets in the way. And one of the biggest ones that I always find is actually two kinds of inner critics. And one of them comes and says things like, don't be ridiculous. You know, you want to write a book that would change people's lives? Don't be ridiculous. Or it might say, that'll be a lot of trouble. We're tired already. Maybe we should just not think about trying to change this whole big thing about the life. Or it feels like it'll be scary. Or, and this is a hard one, what makes you think you're so important? As to be able to go after your dream, what makes you think you're so important? Or we may have a voice inside of us that just plainly says, you don't have what it takes. Is that familiar? Does anybody have something like that? Stay in your safe zone. That reminds me of what someone wrote in the chat already. Stay in your safe zone. Well, I call these parts of us the crusher because it's saying the things it's saying end up holding you back, making you feel crushed. Kind of the result is lack of energy. Yeah. And then there's another whole side that we have that also gets in the way, although it's not as obvious why. That's a part of us I like to call the pusher. Actually, if you know me well, you know I don't like to give names to parts, but for the sake of discussion, there's a whole type of part that's trying to get us to do more. So one of them's trying to get us to do less, don't do the scary thing, don't do what's hard. And the other says, you're not doing enough. You're lazy. Why can't you be as successful as your sister? That sounds like a childhood voice, doesn't it? And come on, just try harder. So maybe you've got something like that going on when you try to change your life and go after a big shift. Is that possible? So what can you do? Well, you find the sentence that typically gets in the way, and then you acknowledge it, calling it something in me. So what are you telling yourself around how impossible it is to go after your big dream? I have too much else to do. I don't have enough support. I'm not the kind of person who can do such a thing. I'm too old. Anybody got that one? So you acknowledge the part of you that says that. So whatever the sentence is, you say, I'm acknowledging something in me that says that. I'm acknowledging something in me that says I'm too old. I'm acknowledging something in me that says I'm not good enough. And then you ask whatever that part is, if it's worried about something. And then it might say, I'm worried you'll get your hopes up and be disappointed. Or it might say, I'm worried you'll be laughed at. It might happen, right? Or it might say, I'm worried you'll fail. So there's a whole interesting process we can do when we've got something that seems to be in the way and it's talking to us. It gives us beliefs and ideas like, I can't do that, or that's unrealistic, or that will be too hard. And then we turn toward that as a part of us and sense what it's worried about that it would say such a thing. Turns out it's worried. Isn't that nice? Yeah. And then you let it know you hear how worried it is. Well, that's already a big difference. Are you trying that? Give that a try. That's already a big difference. And maybe when you really hear its worries, you can move forward. That's something I found to be true. Something in me is worried I can't write a book like that. It'll be too hard. I say hello to that part of me that's worried about that. And I find I can move forward. Yes, a lot of people were finding parts like this. A part of me that doubts me, afraid to fail, shyness. Mm-hmm. Something says I'm not good enough. The critic worries I can't handle the reactions of other people. Let it know you hear it's worried about that. Gordon writes, my physical body can't do what my heart wants to do. Oh, I want to give you a hug. That sounds hard. And maybe that's a worry as well. I know there's a reality, but it might be that you can do more than you think. Sandra has a part that says, don't procrastinate. It's a pusher, right? Yeah. Dee writes, well, I might get overwhelmed with this new project. Something says, I don't know enough yet. Yeah, that's another one. Something says, you already have enough on your plate. That's right. Livia writes, the crusher says you have not the capabilities. You can't do it now, and in a few years, you'll be too old. So it's a very worried part. And when we find there's a part of us that's that worried, it's really nice to give it a little hug inside. Oh, yeah, I really hear how worried you are that I won't be able to do this. What's interesting is that they're not just worried, they have a dream for you also. They're part of the dream. So here you're worried I won't be able to do this. And maybe there's something you're wanting. Yeah, I want for you to be able to do this. I'm just worried you can't. So the part that seems to be trying to crush you and make something impossible for you actually wants something for you. Ori writes, there's so many options, it's difficult to make the right choice, and that gets in the way. So something in you is worried you won't be able to make the right choice. And this is a process, and the process can go on longer. This is the beginning. This is like a first step. Now, I know that a lot of you came to hear something about the course that's starting at the beginning of January. that's on sale this week. So I'm going to talk about that course, which is how I can support you even more. And after that, I'll give you a powerful way to move forward without knowing exactly where you're going. So the course is called The Year of the Big Shift. And it's a year of support. And each month has a theme. So January is the month of clarity. February is the month of commitment. March is the month of the adversaries. And basically that's the pusher and the crusher. April is the month of other people, how important other people are in your big dream. And do you dare reach out to them for support? May is the month of your heart's desire, how important our desire is in creating our big dream. June is called Take One Big Step. And in July, we come back to our adversaries. And because as we've made progress living our dream, worried parts might well come back even more strongly. So we're going to revisit that whole process of turning around those inner critical parts, the worried parts. In August, we explore rhythms of rest and regeneration no matter what you're doing. You can't do it nonstop. And with a part always telling you that you're lazy and you're not doing enough, that isn't going to work. You've got to have rhythms of rest and regeneration in the day, in the week, and in the year. And August is a good month to talk about that. In September, it's the month of the bigger context. October is the month of identity. That is, who am I? Who am I becoming? November is harvest. We look back. And December is momentum. We sense ourselves moving forward. There are 48 guided exercises that make up this course that you can, they're videos made by me that you can watch on your own time. And they include topics like that, becoming unstoppable one step at a time, exercising your asking muscle, how to love the resistance, how to not believe what you think. We've talked about that a little today. If your thoughts are, I can't do this, how to not believe that is something in me is worried that I can't do this. And then there's becoming your own starship captain. It's such a favorite of mine. We'll meet 12 times live on Zoom. Once a month. January 13th is the first one. And they'll always be at the same time as this webinar, but for 2 hours. And it's a great way to meet the other people in the program, be inspired by what they're doing, share, including sharing your blocks and troubles, and be with me. And in those live meetings, there's even more exercises and sharing as we move through your year of change. You don't have to attend the live meetings. It's not required. You don't have to do anything. But the course works well if you can both watch the videos at some time each week. The videos are maybe 15 minutes long, each one a week. So I like to say that the year of the big shift isn't about a big goal, it's about a big shift. It's a big shift in your inner sense of who you are and how you show up in the world. And this could be exactly the right time to reinvent yourself and step into the life you were born for. I am so happy to say that with us today is Jill Bennett, who is in the process of taking Year of the Big Shift right now. And she is willing to come on the call. Hello, Jill.
Hello.
There you go.
How much I've enjoyed seeing you going through all that material. I mean, I feel ready to keep going next year. It's wonderful.
Hope you will. So how was it? What happened? What's exciting? What do you think people need to know about Year of the Big Shift in order to decide whether to do it?
Well, I was interested in all the comments coming in the chat there and how the big shift the process I've been through this year meets virtually every one of those and how the kind of each of the talks that we have every month. I mean, the projects. What did you call them? The monthly
Oh, monthly themes.
titles.
Each month
The
has a theme.
themes
Uh-huh.
are so well laid out, and there are so many gems in each one of them to kind of unhook you and move you forward another tiny step, or sometimes it's a huge step. I mean, it's been the most brilliant year. I mean, I've done a lot of work with you, Anne, I know, but the way it's paced and the things we touch on seem it. I mean, we had a partner. I would encourage anybody who's doing it to link up with somebody in the group that does it, and by practicing the talks every month, it really has an effect. We're no
Now,
doubt.
did you make a big shift this year?
I did. Well, it's been a gradual shift.
Yeah.
But what's so I was really struck by that last thing you put up. The way I am has changed.
Mm-hmm.
The way I'm dealing with a huge life situation has changed, and we don't have these shifts in isolation, because the way you are affect the people around you and how you deal with them, and the sense of having a kind of like, you call it a project sometimes, it's like a thread that takes you through the year. I have to say that. So changing my tack a little bit in the work I'm doing. I've given up quite a few things I normally do, and we still haven't moved yet, but that's maybe next year's big shift.
Wonderful. Well, Jill, thank you so much for
Pleasure.
coming on here. And I know you're going to hang around in case people have questions for you. They can put them in the chat.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Yay. Good. So, what gets in the way and what can help that change? And about the course itself, just wondering, were there any other questions people had about it? And we're going to go on and talk about our other topic today. Somebody wrote in the chat, what do you do when you're not able to dream? I don't quite know what you mean you're not able to dream. You mean you don't wish for anything to change in your life? Oh, and something has been so crushed, including your imagination. I'm so sorry to hear that's happened to you. And I think the first thing to do is to have a healing presence with yourself, with that one in you that's been crushed. Say, something in me feels crushed, and I am going to be with that. Yeah, beautiful. So keep on sharing and asking questions, and we're going to move on to our final topic for today. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that in this course, you create real and lasting change when you discover true clarity about what you really want, and we'll discover that together. And you learn how to move forward beyond your previous limits. You develop the capacity to ask for and receive help. You tap into your energy and momentum by turning fears and anxieties into skills and strengths. You recognize your own rhythms of rest and regeneration. You know, it's such a powerful thing to know that sometimes resting and taking a break is the most forward thing you can do. And you get to discover how to stay in touch with your larger vision for your life, not let it get faded away by other things in your life. And the cost of the course this week only is $547. So $200 off the regular price. I also want to say that I am available to chat with people. If you want to decide whether this course is right for me, for you, just email me. There's a question in the chat about the course. Will we do focusing partnership during the meetings? No. During the meetings, there are no partnership exercises. They are group exercises, just like I'm doing with you today, where I'm taking you through the process, feeling your body, resting into your body, bringing invitations to yourself. So the partnership process is not required at all. We don't pair people up for partnerships because this course is open to anybody, whether you know focusing or not. It's not a course in how to do focusing. It's a course that applies the processes of focusing to the steps you need to make a big change in your life. And I will make it easy for you to follow those steps, whether you have previously had focusing training or not. And every exercise is provided on video and on audio and in a handout, which you could use to work with a focusing partner by reading the prompts to them or them reading the prompts to you. So there's a partnership option, but it isn't required. Here's another question. Can we see each other during the monthly meetings? Oh, yes. This is a webinar. That's why you can't see anybody. But those monthly meetings are called Zoom meetings, and you'll see the whole group and each other. Yes, it'll be much more participatory than this one now. Okay, let's get on to our final topic for today, and that is how to move forward without knowing where you're going. This is so exciting to me. So one of the things that can happen is we feel like, I don't know. Some of you have been sharing this kind of thing in the chat. I don't know what my big dream is. Or I know what my big dream is, but I don't know the steps to getting there. Or I know vaguely what it is, but it's not specific enough. So I feel like that's why. Now, I don't think I don't know should stop you. And I like to bring in the wonderful sentence I learned from my friend Helene Brenner. There's a lot I don't know, but this much I do know. Isn't that nice? So we concentrate on what we do know. And by asking, well, what do I know? We start getting more and more of the picture. So you can sense what would be right. Before you can put it into words, you can sense what would be right. You can sense what would be right even before you could put it into words. So that's a picture of somebody sensing something, but not having words for it yet. And this felt sense can guide you forward, right? So let's take some time to try that right now. Letting awareness come to your body. Feeling your body supported. Might want to close your eyes so you can tune in to your body even more. Let awareness come inward into that inner area of your body. That includes your throat, your chest, your stomach, your belly. And take your time to pick up the threads that were there earlier when we asked, what's your big dream? What do you feel called to do? What feels right to do? And notice where in all that you don't know. I don't know what my big dream is. I don't seem to have one, or I don't know what I'm called to do, or I don't know. We're going to welcome the I don't know. We're going to make a nice big welcoming space inside for I don't know. And now as you get a body sense of what you don't know, the body sense of I don't know, bring inside yourself the question or the statement, this much I do know. Like, I don't know how I want to change my life, but I do know I want it to be something that makes me feel more alive. This much I do know. Notice if it's possible to tolerate the I don't know. It's like being in the fog when you can hardly see in front of you. But if you look down at your feet, you can sense the next right step. So there can be fog all around you, and yet you can still know the way forward. It's this one step at a time. So I don't know this, and I don't know that, and I don't know this, but this much I do know, I can take this one step. And see if you can feel that one step that's possible to know. I could do that. And notice now how this feels in your body. You've made it okay that it's foggy. There's nothing wrong with having a foggy dream and just knowing the next tiny baby step that will take you there. Probably. We don't know. We'll take that step, then we'll sense again. Very good. So you might thank your body, thank your process, let your awareness emerge, see how that feels. It's possible to move forward without knowing all about where you're going. And in the process, things get more clear. So how are you doing? How's your life going? I hope it's going great. And is there a sense of something in the way of going even further? I'm so glad some people are writing in the chat things like, I got a sense of what it would feel like when it's right. Ooh, yes, that's so nice. You know, when I was 60, I'm 75 now. When I was 60, I asked myself, what shall I do with the rest of my life? I had a good business. I had an assistant. I was putting on classes. I'd written a couple of books by then. I went inside. I asked myself, what's next for me? And from inside, I got this message, get bigger. Get bigger. But I didn't know what that meant. Well, a year later, I had 3 assistants instead of 1. And 2 years after that, I had moved into an actual office instead of working out of my home. And by now, I have 6 books. And for me, get bigger was that kind of message. It's unclear, but it does feel right. And it helped me make a number of decisions along the way. That might not be the message you're getting. The message you might get is rest more. And I really want to give the message that following your body's requesting to rest is also forward movement. And I see Antoinette wrote in the chat, my sense is that my first step is to let my body rest and recover. Absolutely. That could be the first step toward the next stage of your life. Yeah. Oh, and Constance writes, get bigger resonates. I can get bigger than my fears. That's so true. That is so true. And it is okay to get bigger because I grew up in a family where I was put down for wanting to be big or show off, or that's what it was called. It was called showing off. Don't be a show off. Might not have happened if I'd been a boy. But give myself permission to have the desires I have. It's huge. It's really big. Well, we're coming to the end of our time, and I'm so happy about those of you who are writing in the chat that this has been helpful to you. Keep in touch. Very happy. And let's give a special thank you to Jill for showing up. And if you want to ask me anything about what we talked about today, you've got my email address now. Or if you want to talk about whether the course is right for you, I can talk to you. We can talk. So thank you. Thank you. Keep getting whatever is next for you. Go for it. Wonderful. Take care. Bye for now. Yay.